That's
And
great.
hi, love.
Hello, my friend.
How
Okay.
are you?
I am really great, and I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you for doing
I'm
this
so happy
today.
to be here. I just have a question. Do you ever walk almost naked with a headdress on downstairs anymore?
Only on Sundays. That's a long story. Oh, good times. You have a little introduction. Okay. Here we go. This beautiful song is by my super talented guest today, and it is called My Reclamation, an anthem for marriage equality, gay and civil rights. Born in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, Sam became a superstar in 1984 as the original American Idol, the winner of Star Search, and that famous rendition of Over the Rainbow. This catapulted Sam into the stratosphere, and he became a multi-platinum recording artist. He's an actor, a producer, a director, he's been in TV and he's been in movies, and he has just released his second book and his first novel called Substance of All Things. His first book, Ham Slices of Life, was a memoir and a musical, and is now a movie. And The Substance of All Things is truly wonderful and will tear at your heartstrings. Sam has sold out to major venues all over the world, like Carnegie Hall, London's West End, and Rolling Stone magazine says Sam is one of the greatest 100 singers of all time. He's a Tony Desk, Drama Desk, Drama League, and Outer Critics nominee, and I got to watch him perform every night when we did the producers on Broadway. There is no end to his talents, and I'm thrilled to welcome to Bluebell Talks today the amazing Sam Harris.
Oh, that was really nice. That was so thorough.
Well, you know, I did my research.
I guess so.
Well, you need an introduction. You're Sam Harris, for goodness sake.
Well, that was very sweet of you. And thanks for asking me to do this. I love what you did. And for those of you watching, Charlie and I have been texting back and forth as she was reading the book, and you just made me so happy. You warmed my heart with your response and the way it affected you, and it meant a lot to me. You know, when you know someone who's reading it, it's a very different thing because
Really?
there's sort of extra pressure on it.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, not pressure, that's the wrong word, but a sense of like it. You want them to like it in a different way. If they don't, then they're not going to speak to you.
Oh my, I cannot imagine not, I mean, Sam, this is amazing. This is your first novel too. Because Ham Slices of Life was based on your memoirs and your life.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, okay, how did this little boy from Sand Springs, Oklahoma, how did you, like, start a novel like this? And it has, I mean, I feel you all over it.
Well, after my first book, which, as you said, was a memoir, it was a collection of stories from my life. I was really encouraged to write a novel, which really shocked me. I mean, like my editor at Simon & Schuster was like, you should be writing fiction. And it kind of, I imagined myself writing a series of more, you know, novel stories, essays and stories. Yeah. And I was thrilled at the compliment, but it really kind of terrified me. So I actually had, for the first time in my life, I had a writer's block. I'm not like that. I usually kind of go, like, whatever I'm doing, it just kind of like happens, and, you know,
yeah.
And I was just completely stymied. And then a friend said, I don't know this about you. Why are you having so much trouble getting an idea? And he started asking me questions about my childhood and the environment and different things. And I remembered this short story that I had written that no one ever saw that was sort of the kernel of this idea. And it just came. And in fact, that night it was at a dinner party at their house. And I left he and his wife. And I'm like, do you have a legal pad? Sat in the corner and started making notes while everybody else had dinner.
Oh, so, my God.
But as far as the subject, the town, it's set, as you know, it's a past and a present. But the past one is set in 1968 in rural Oklahoma, and the town is is very based, certainly in description and a few other things, on Sand Springs. It's called Dalton in the book.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot to draw from in that way as the setting.
Yeah, I love how you mix the two plot lines, and the past and the present, and Theo, the young boy, whose the story is told of him as a young boy, and then it goes to the present time of him, or him as older. I love how you mix the two plot lines, and it blended so perfectly.
Thank you. You know, I'm an avid reader, and sometimes I get frustrated when I see books that I'm skipping times, or I see everything through one character's perspective and then the next chapter is through another character. It's like, just tell the story. So yeah, that was really important for me to hopefully properly interweave those so that they informed each other. Because as you know, the adult Theo, who is a therapist, is really at an impasse in his life, and he is finding the courage to go back and relive a really, really confusing, complex, dark, and extraordinary summer of when he was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And through his work with this very broken woman.
Yes. Oh my God. I just wanted to hug her.
I know. And in the book, she has a condition in which she can't be touched. So I wanted to hug her too. That's the thing.
What is it called again?
Hepatophobia.
Hepatophobia. That's right.
People who have this, literally, it's like fire on them. They cannot be touched. It is horrible. So in his working with her and her courage, he finds the way to go back and look at and feel and relive the elements of his childhood rather than just document them.
Yeah. Your writing is so beautiful. I could literally smell the smell of the town. I could feel the sweat and the dirt and the dust and the pain. And I'd love you to sort of explain like the synopsis of the story, but the young boy has these hands that are so crippled, and you described them so beautifully. It was so clear to me how he looked. It was heart-wrenching to see him have to go through life like this. But tell him, I mean, I don't know how much of it we can say.
No, let me, I don't want to get, you know, we won't tell the end. But basically, this boy, Theo, was in a car accident when he was 6 years old, that his father was driving. And in this car accident, his mother died, who was pregnant. The baby lived. Theo's hands were completely disfigured and disabled. He can use them, but in the book it talks about them being able to fit around a grapefruit, but he can't, but he is, you know, permanently disfigured. And his father also is injured in his legs. And that's a whole other thing. There's so much resentment from the father. But when Theo is 12 and his little sister is 6, he discovers through a Native American Theo is a bit of an outcast and ostracized because kids are cruel. But then he meets this man, Frank, who is a Native American who lives outside of town in a sort of a broken down trailer. And through certain happenstance, he and Theo meet. And this man is like legendarily, you know, like the Boo Radley, like you don't go.
Don't go near his trailer. And
they happen to meet, and through a course of little events, Theo learns from Frank that he has the ability to heal through these disfigured hands. So Theo has this gift. And when he starts looking back at his life, it starts to make sense, and now it's all come together. And so he starts going to people's homes that Frank takes him to, or have heard about him in secret. And so he has this gift, but he's a 12-year-old boy. He's going through puberty. He's, you know, thinking about girls and having erections, and he's going through boy stuff. And he has this other sort of outcast friend, Henry, and they're thick.
I love their relationship.
Don't you love Henry? I love Henry. So he just wants to be an ordinary boy, but he has this extraordinary gift, which becomes a burden. And also in rural Oklahoma, which is the Bible Belt, as I very well know, he is demonized by the local fire and brimstone preacher, and really basically thrown out of the church. And his aunt, who at first, isn't she fun at first?
She is hysterical. Do you know how I've cast her in the movie?
Oh, who?
Allison Janney.
Oh God, perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Great.
Perfect. She has all these colloquialisms, you know, it's just yes, she's smoking and she's got bright colors and she speaks in all these Southern, you know, colloquialisms.
Yeah.
It's hotter than a billy goat's bottom in a pepper patch.
I see, I
You know,
love all of that.
she has all those, but then, and I don't want to give too much away, but
No.
when Theo is sort of thrown out, I will just say that he is exploited by her for her own greed, using his gift for other means. And it becomes so large, and the burden of this gift and his confusion about what it is nearly kills him. All the while he's trying to protect his sister.
Love that relationship.
She's so, you know what, here's the thing, you know, it's so funny when I'm like, oh, I love her, or I love him, or it's because I see these people, you know, even as I wrote them, as so real.
Yeah.
And they often told me what to do. I mean, like I would finish, you know, and then I would read back and kind of didn't remember writing some of it. I'm not being like hocus pocus channel-y. I'm just saying that when you get in that thing, they tell you what to do.
I totally get that. Yeah, it was so, all the characters were so beautifully rounded, and sometimes I wondered, you know, I kind of wanted Theo and Henry to, like, because they were so close, thick as thieves. I wasn't sure at one point if it was going to go in that direction. And then when he was older, and then with the woman, as she's called, that comes in, who completely broken but is so not a victim. It was so beautiful how you wrote her. And I wondered,
that's the thing, is I can tell you that, you know, I can tell you guys that are watching, she is a really dark childhood. She is she was sexually abused, and she has really not dealt with this, and she has this condition where she can't be touched. It was very important to me to create. I'm a man.
yes,
And I wrote a woman, and I wrote a woman of size, and I wrote a woman of size who has a history of abuse. And especially in this time, in this day and age, it was very, very vitally important for me to create a person that I loved and respected and admired, who is beautiful inside and out,
yes,
who is not self-pitying, even though she has every right to completely feel the victim.
yeah.
She's feisty and acerbic and witty, but she is so blocked. And, you know.
How did you write for a woman? How did you do that?
Well, I'm a human being first.
Right.
And then I thought, you know, am I going to get in trouble for this? Am I going to get criticized for this? And then I think of writers like Wally Lamb and people who've written women characters so beautifully. And I'll tell you something, Charlie. I mean, I think you know this. I've had the great, humbling honor of getting these amazing reviews from these major publications. And then there's the customer reviews, you know, on Amazon.com and on Goodreads. The two that have affected me the deepest are not even about the young Theo story, which is really the primary story, I suppose, although people did relate to both stories.
Yeah.
One from, and this is, she used the phrase, a woman of size, which I had never heard that phrase. And she said, I was trepidatious when I first recognized that about her. And I thought, here we go again. She said, where we're given instruction on what's wrong and how to fix it and what we represent and all of our problems. And she said, I wept every time I read her because she was human. She was well-rounded. She was somebody that the author and adult Theo clearly admired and loved. And she said, we are never written about this way ever.
Yeah.
And that touched me more than so many of the other reviews. And then the other one I got was actually a woman who was abused as a child. And she talked about how often, well, almost not only often, but for the most part, women who have had this experience, and you know, like 1 out of every 4 women